is your very first unit of class 11 botany. So if we talk about this unit, diversity of living organism, diversity in living organism, then the unit is consist of a number of chapters. That means the first chapter is your biodiversity. Nextly, the classification of the biodiversity. That means here we just talk about the nomenclature and all this variety of things. That means we classify all the animals, all the plants into a number of kingdoms. And nextly, we just study a single kingdom briefly. That means we just study about the kingdom Monera, we just study about the kingdom Protista, Animalia, a number of various viruses, number of viroids, and number of bacteria also. So we just classify all these things and we just study about some of the features of this kingdom. Just classify this first and nextly all these things. So if we talk about the total unit, as it is an introduction class, I just want to clarify the unit first. Nextly, the chapters. So if we talk about this unit, the first chapter is your biodiversity. Nextly, the classification, where we classify all these things. Nextly, we just briefly classify everything. That means we just classify every kingdom. That means every plant kingdom we just classify. That means we just classify Monera first. We just briefly discuss the Monera, what is Monera, and some of the examples of this Monera part. And nextly, the kingdom Protista and fungi and plantae. We also discussed about lichens, viruses and viruses. So these are some of the topics which are included. That means these are not the important points. These are the topics. We just study this much topic in this unit. So our very first topic is biodiversity. So we just discuss about biodiversity first. So before going to biodiversity, what is the meaning of your diversity in living organism? What is the meaning of this unit first? If we talk about the word diversity, so if we split the word diversity, the meaning of diversity is variety. So diversity in living world. So if we talk about this term diversity, diversity means variety. Variety. That means there is a number of variety of plants, animals, insects, a number of bacteria, a number of viruses, a number of things are there which are exist in this earth. So everything which are included and exist on the earth is included in your diversity. So diversity in living world. That means where we live. We just talk about the living world. That means all these things which are lively, which are live over here, live over here. We just discuss all these things. That means your plant is included here, your animal is included here. That means the animals, the insects which are living here, oceans or the number of animals which are living here. Forest. That means we just talk about every type of ecosystems here. So if we talk about the diversity, then we just included a number of varieties. We just included a number of variety of plants. We just study about a number of variety of animals and all these things. So it is the meaning of your unit. Nextly, the chapters. So your very first chapter is your biodiversity. What is your biodiversity? If we talk about biodiversity, we also know that diversity means variety. Bio means is biology. Bio means biology. So biology means we also know that it is included two terms. One is your plant, another one is your animal. So here we study about various types of variety of plants and animals. Insects are also included. That means your bacteria, viruses, viral, all these things are included. So in biodiversity, we study about various types of plants and animals. So it is the basic gist of this chapter. So we just focus about a variety. We just talk about a number of varieties of plants and animals. So what is the definition of this biodiversity? If we talk about biodiversity, it is a variety of living organisms. that is your plants, animals, microorganisms that exist on the earth. So all these things, that means your plants, animals, microorganisms, all these things which are exist on the surface of the earth is included in your biodiversity. We just term it as biodiversity. Bio means your animal and plants, both are included, and diversity means variety. So we just talk about various types of plants and animals. Hope this term is clear to all of you. Next term, biodiversity. Who coined this term? A scientist named Edward Wilson termed this biodiversity in the year of 1985. It is just an important term. You just overlook it. Edward Wilson, the scientist who termed in 1985. We just coined this term biodiversity. Next year. It refers to the number of variety of living organisms present in oceans, forests, deserts and mountains. You may take all other examples. So if we talk about, it now refers to the number of variety. I told you that diversity means variety, biodiversity means plant and animals both. That means we just talk about various types of plants and animals. So if we talk about variety of things, we just talk about a number of ecosystems. We just talk about the forest ecosystem. We just talk about a number of habitats also. A couple of stages later, I just told you that what is your habitat and how these things are happening in habitat. Habitat means the surrounding. We just talk about a couple of stages later. So it reflects the number and variety of living organisms present in. That means all the living organisms which are present in oceans, forest, desert, mountains. A question arises in mind that what is a living organism? What is the basic definition of a living organism? If we talk about a living organism, that means in living world, if we talk about a living organism, that means the organism which are able to reproduce, the organism which are able to reproduce a copy of itself, that means or we can also say that the stages for which a number of things are happening in the total world. That means if we talk about living organism, all these things, if we talk about how the mountains is a living organism, that means it also has some of the features of living organism. That means it can grow. That means growth is also there. It can reproduce. That means it can stimuli is also there. Stimuli is also there. So if you talk about these three things, all these things are the characteristic feature of a living organism. That means growth is mostly there. If we talk about a mountain, a question arises in mind that, sir, how mountain grows? Obviously mountain grows. If we talk about a human being, we also easily tell that yes, sir, mountain is not growing, but the animal is, or the plant or the human being is growth. Growth is there. How we assume that the growth is there? Because there is a stimuli in mind that the cell division is there and the growth is there. That means from the childhood to the adulthood, the old age and the death. That means in this total cycle, growth is there. But in the case of mountain, growth is not there. But I told you that how the growth is there. If you talk about a mountain, if you talk about a bare land, there is a that means there is a deposition of soils and there is a deposition of rocks are there, and couple of stages, that means couple of years later, some plants are also grow on the surface of the area, that means of the bare area. Nextly, in some years later, the total bare area is changes into a mountain. That means the growth stages are taken from the bare area to the number of plants. That means the changes which are takes place from the primitive stage to the last stage is the growth. That means here the growth is outer side, and in our case the growth is inner side. That means the development of cells are in our case, and here the development of the outer particles is there. So mountain is also grow in deserts, in forests, and in oceans. All the living organisms, that all the things which exist on the earth as included in your biodiversity. So this term is also clear. Nextly, the entire global species diversity ranges from 20 to 50 million. I just told you one thing, that in different type of groups there is a number of changes. That means in numerical changes are also there. In some books it is written as 2 million, in some books it is written as 7 million, in some books it is ranges from your 1.5 to 1.7 million. So just like that. So don't worry about the term, you just focus about the points. So if we talk about the entire global species diversity, it is ranges from 20 to 50 million, and according to a scientist whose name is Robert May, who according to the research he told that in global species there is about 7 million. That means he statistically studies all these things and told that there is 7 million species which exist on the earth. So here the 20 to 50 million is ranges to the 7 million, and very interesting thing is that currently identification species ranges from here 1.7 to 1.8. That means it is the changes which takes place over here. So identified species ranges from 1.7 to 1.8. That means currently it is the number 1.7 to 1.8. Later on it is also changed by the research of some of the scientists. So it is the gist of your biodiversity, the term. That means the term is derived by your Edward Wilson in the year of 1985. According to him, the total things, that means total the plants, animals, the microorganisms which exist on the oceans or the forest or the desert, all these things, they are included in your biodiversity, and the term diversity means your variety, and we just talk about the variety of living organisms which exist on the surface of the earth. So this is the basic gist of your topic of your biodiversity, and later on, that means in our next class we just discuss about what is the habitat and how the changes are takes place. That means how the habitat changes are takes place in your plant, and how the habitat changes are takes place on the microorganisms, how all these things are. So this is all about the biodiversity. Hope this introduction class is helpful to all of you. Thank you.